And Jim would go, well, did it used to work?
Right.
Well, then why'd you stop?
We got too smart. That's what.
Right. Exactly. You just decided all of a sudden that you're not you're going to go away from it, and I think that you're right. I think we went away from what we knew worked. Right.
Yes.
It was working. We were refining it. Then, I think we talked about it. Google blew in and blew it all up.
Blew it all up.
Yes.
100%.
And then we've spent the last probably 15 years doing what Google wants us to do.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you gotta be impressed.
Welcome to the Old Guys No Shit podcast in Dealercast Studios, where we bring together decades of automotive knowledge all together in one place. Here's your host, Old Guys Who Know Shit.
Hey, what's going on, Dealercast Nation? I am Jason Harris.
I'm Rob Budd.
And I'm Larry Bruce.
And this is the Old Guys That Know Shit or Some Shit.
Sometimes a lot of shit, sometimes none.
Who knows? We're still not sure. We're not sure. We'll figure it out one day.
We know some. We know some. Hey guys,
here and there.
It's great to be back in the studio. Good to see you guys.
It's not a blizzard. No blizzards. We got no blizzards this time.
Just rain.
And we've been on the road with each other. We've been traveling. It's been fun.
Houston's a lot hotter than Iowa.
Yeah. Houston, the humidity.
Stuff.
That's what was getting.
Y'all are a bunch of babies.
Larry's from Houston. So I still haven't dried up from that shower I took on Tuesday.
You're a bunch of babies.
Hey guys, I'm excited about this topic because I think we've actually been talking a lot about this since we've been traveling together and been together for the last kind of few days. It's just some industry changes, and it's funny because we do see industry changes, and then we see kind of like almost like things that kind of come back, right? Like bell bottoms.
Right.
We've got bell bottoms back.
Do you know what I mean? Like there are just certain things that I think just ultimately just go through a cycle and just eventually just kind of come back around.
It's usually, in business, it's usually what worked.
Yes.
We started, we did, I'm going to pull up another Zieglerism. So because we're going to bring another Zieglerism back. Well, this is one of my favorites, right? Because it used to be every sales manager forum, somebody would invariably say, well, we used to do that. And Jim would go, well, did it used to work?
Right.
Well, then why'd you stop?
We got too smart. That's what.
Right. Exactly. You just decided all of a sudden that you're not you're going to go away from it, and I think that you're right. I think we went away from what we knew worked. Right.
Yes.
It was working. We were refining it. Then I think we talked about it. Google blew in and blew it all up.
Blew it all up.
Yes.
100%.
And then we've spent the last probably 15 years doing what Google wants us to do.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you gotta be impressed.
I was those last speakers we had the other day down in Houston. I've been preaching that for a long time. Well, it was nice to hear someone else say it more vocal than I was saying it before I got up there to say it myself, right?
Yeah, shout out, by the way, to Ron Morrison. I definitely think he needs to come on the show.
Yeah.
We should bring Ron to the studio.
He definitely needs one of these events.
He understood
he's an old guy. He's an old guy that knows some shit.
Yeah, he does. And he is an old guy. So, I thought that was refreshing. Well, not refreshing because you had to go so long until we figured it out. I would ask the question, does anyone in the audience remember 1999 in Orlando? No one rose their hand, so that tells you who all was in the crowd.
Some of them weren't born yet, I think.
Right. And that was in Orlando. That was the year of the .com bust. But they were going to show up and they were going to change the automotive industry because it was inefficient, blah, 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 blah. Well, they did it. It just wasn't in 1999. It came.
I don't think they changed the industry. What they changed was the marketing, and they just moved the money.
Well, but I think they changed the industry too, because to your point, or the Zieglerism, did it work? They changed what.
They changed what they changed what the behavior of what dealers did for marketing,
and they
changed they tried to change the way that you buy a car, but that didn't work out.
They fundamentally changed the data that as dealers we were looking at. I remember when I first started helping my dealership with their marketing efforts, everything that the owner wanted to see was based around results. All right, it was based around how many calls, how many walk-ins, how many. I mean, yeah, we were still measuring faxes because stuff was still coming through a fax machine. So
absolutely.
we did measure it,
of course.
and we were measuring these new things that at that point in time weren't called leads; they were called inquiries or form fills. Like what happened to those, right?
Yep.
We were measuring actual results, and then over some period of time, we somehow convinced. It's kind of like early TV, right? Like early TV, could you really show the ROI in early TV? No, but you could imply that there was connection to.
Well, it was cause and effect because when television in the old came out, it was like, hey, now till Monday night, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so what would happen on Wednesday? They would start the campaign, and Thursday people would start to show up over the weekend. Then you had a big close day on Monday, and then you waited 2 more days, and then it was the next new sale, right? But you could track that traffic and see the patterns, right?
Sure. But isn't that funny how that's what Google now is like?
They changed language.
They've changed the language. But you're right. It's still a measurement of cause and effect. Well, if you're getting this many clicks,
but the cause of impression that day was a person's name.
Yeah, that's true.
A name, address, and phone number.
I would still say that's a result.
Well, yeah, but that's what you were collecting. Today, they're telling you to collect clicks and impressions, and then hopefully those people that did that will reach out and say hi to you.
Yeah, well, but that was back then. It was ups. I mean, it was ups, right? We counted ups, we counted calls.
Right.
That was how it worked.
What I consider to be an actual lead, because what those things have that are different than what we call leads.
A name and address, a name and email address, and a phone
more
number.
than that. There was a conversation attached to it.
In most cases, yeah. For the form fill, you don't necessarily have a conversation. Unless if you're doing,
it can go to an opportunity.
Yeah, but the percentages are so small.
Yeah, but you got to look at the reason why you don't have a conversation with a form fill is because the form fill comes in and somebody calls it an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day later. Sometimes they call them to even 20 minutes is too long.
Sure.
And when we reversed that and started getting more customers or more salespeople calling within 5 minutes of the lead, the conversation rate went to in the low to high mid 90s. Sorry, low to mid 90s.
But that only makes sense because if the person filled out the form, they're looking at something, right? And they fill it out. Okay, you get them right as they're in the moment.
Right. Well, there's a process.
Sense.
There's a process to it. You get them in the moment, but there's a process to making that happen, right? And the problem is with a form fill or with a lead that comes in that goes to a queue, is it's reactive. It sits and it waits for somebody to come get it, and you got to turn it around and make it proactive.
You're right. There's a time that goes along with that, but there's also, to me, guys, I wouldn't be opposed, and anybody out there that is in the website business, I still challenge this. I've been challenging them for over 5 years to do this, right? I want to see a website with no forms whatsoever. I just want something that says just, hey, you got a question? We have an answer.
Call this number.
Or text. Or just text, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just instant conversation because the form is creating, to your point, because a process, as it's creating this time and a gate for someone. If someone calls, I'm immediate conversation with them. If they show up on my lot, I'm shaking their hand and I'm immediate conversation.
Hey, I remember when
but a text isn't going to get you immediate conversation. It's not getting it now. There's text to lead. There's text to lead. They're not texting them back, though. And here's the bad part about a text, right?
The dealership's not texting them back?
No, the dealership's not texting back.
See, that's the problem.
And when I send a text, I expect an answer. Damn near. How many times do you get pissed off when you text somebody and they don't almost immediately answer?
Well, it shows the dots.
That's not reality.
I'm looking for the fucking dots because if they don't have the dots, if there's no dots coming, I'm like, dude, seriously? What?
Right. I mean, that's our own fault because we put ourselves on 24/7, right?
Right.
But you say that though. But if it was a phone ring, somebody'd answer.
Well, I'd answer it. Yeah,
that's what we have the process in place that phone when someone is calling in, someone, no matter what, is going to pick it up. And
so there's
why can we not do the exact same thing?
You probably can, but look who's calling that function. Gee, I want to look. I don't want to talk to them. Right?
Yes.
The
Right.
text, same thing, right? So now you get to choose who you want to pick up or answer back to. There's just a lot more variables today than there ever been before.
Yeah, so that's why there's a process, because you right now, if you follow, well, I mean, if you the BDC box system, when it comes in, I'm going to turn every lead into a call, everyone. Right, so you're gonna call, you're gonna send a lead. It's gonna immediately find a salesperson. You're gonna call, and you're either gonna get the customer or you're not. But if you don't, then the process has to be, now I got a text, and now I got an email, and then I got to follow up with a call again 15 minutes after that. Because what happened, the reason why
I get that process.
Yeah.
But there isn't a process of how the customer is going to interact with the dealership. They get to choose, right? How they interact.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts.
Right. But then, and so if you're not getting a pickup of the call at that point, it's mostly because they don't recognize the number. That's why the text and the email comes back.
Right.
That gets the number recognized. And then that's why you want to follow up with
ups. I'm not taking him. He don't look like he can buy.
Exactly.
And now we'll find the phone call.
Right.
For pre-qual.
And that's what we're talking about, right, guys? This is our first topic. It's some industry changes, right? So kind of what was and what's changing, and is it good, better, or
here's an interesting. So the other day I pulled out that chart from 2000 through 2024 of all the new cars that were sold every month, every year, right? And there were some glitches, but when you look at the glitch, what was it? Pandemic, financial crises, right? But other than that, nothing. There was blips, but nothing changed really, right?
You're not going. There's only so many people who have driver's licenses.
No. But I know where Rob's going with this, because we did talk a lot about this. Like, all of this technology and all of this new marketing is supposed to make us bigger, better, and
more efficient.
Yeah,
well, that's how they sold it.
Well, I know, but that's how it was sold.
That's
right?
how it's sold.
That's not what I got at all.
Well, no, I mean, that's been the pitch the whole time.
It was never the pitch.
I'm not care about your pitch. I'm talking about
from them. I mean, I never
from any digital company. I've been pitched by them all.
Yeah,
all
they all tell you
that all these tools.
No, I'm just talking about from the Google standpoint, or from the Google or the digital marketing standpoint.
Well, yeah,
it was never about selling more. There was no way the
claim was I was going to be busier. I was going to be substantially busier. But still today, it's a 20 car a month guy is a 20 car a month guy. Like, I didn't see us exponentially go from a 20 car a month guy to a 40 car a month guy.
That wasn't ever going to happen.
But supposedly to all the Googles and the Facebooks, like, we're going to flood your business. You're going to have
I never got that pitch. Maybe because I shut it down almost immediately.
Well, there you go, right?
Because the marketing doesn't make more people.
That's what
I mean, marketing
it's a finite market.
Increase the demand, right?
This is what I got from Google and from the digital marketing age was that we were going to move our budgets from radio, television, newspaper, which was spray and pray, to much more targeted, experiential,
but once they found that out, once that got they found that they ran out of those type efficiencies, then they started to broaden it out, right? And then that became the wasted reach, right?
And that may be been, but the idea was always that we were going to go from 500 a car to 200 a car in advertising, and we were never going to spend, and we were going to be able to maintain or grow our business at a less of an advertising cost, because it was going to be more effective. That was always my understanding. That was always my talks with Google when I talked to them. That was always that's what it was about. It was never about, so that's why, when I look at NADA today and I say, we're at 702 a car, what happened? We didn't go backwards. We went up. We're spending more.
Right.
And not only that, we're spending more to make less on the damn car.
Right.
So, and then we're going to add a layer of BDC to this to grow our sales comp. So our sales comp goes up.
Yep.
Our gross profit goes down. Our
and the only one that made any money
advertising
was
dollars. Yes, it did. Yeah, the guy. It's like a lawsuit. The only one that's going to win is a lawyer.
That's right. That's
right. And that's so I looked. I actually text David Kate about this. I'm like, David, did we just switch the budget? And he said his reply, one word, yes.
Yes. And we switched it from this math makes a lot of sense. If it's 15 points on the traditional side. Yep. Right. And you're an agency, and all of a sudden you find, hey, there's a 25% bucket over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What is going to happen? Well, if I can make 10 more points off the same money by just doing what everybody else is doing because everybody's doing it, that's what they did. Right? You can't not disagree with that because people's AGI in the
they're just working their pay plan.
Yeah,
exactly. It's the salesperson. They're going to work their pay plan. I get that part of it, but I never got it. It never resonated with me that you were somehow going to magically have more people to buy a car. That was never going to happen.
Oh, I don't think. I got that pitch a lot. I got that pitch many times.
Right. But it would just because there's never going to be more people. Now, could you be better at it and get some. In the car business,
of the market share, right?
In the car business, in order for you to win, somebody else has to lose.
That's actually, right. You know what? Because I want to pause for anybody out there watching and listening. I think this is super important because you're 100% right? Like I think too often, we don't talk enough about market share. We don't. Right? Like, the demand is the demand. All right.
Right.
And the only real objective is for you to get a bigger piece of that pie.
Right.
All right. Because you're not going to just magic. There is no customer press machine out there that just prints these new things out.
Back in 2008 when the crash hit, we had people, oh shit, stopped advertising. Oh my God, the world's coming to an end. Well, but some of our dealers said, hey, if everybody's pulling back, let's put the gas because no one dealer sells all the cars.
That's right. Because just because the market share may be dropped, but because of economics, it's still there's still a pie. It might be a slightly smaller pie. Right. You just got to get a bigger.
You got to find the right way to get a bigger piece of that pie.
And I hate not advertising. Why don't you start and gobble up market share?
Well, and I think and this is what I think. Fundamentally is that when we look at some of the technologies that we put in place, some of the marketing efforts that we've put in place over the years, is that objective has been slightly lost. It's been lost in translation, right? If my objective is just to increase my size of that pie, it's been lost in a lot of these pieces of technology. It's been lost in a lot of the marketing. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, hell, Ziegler opened up every sales manager's forum with it. If in order for you to win, somebody else has to lose.
Right?
And that's just that's the normal. That's the nature of retail. Yes. Right? It doesn't matter whether it's cars or it's RVs or it's power sports vehicles
unless
or
you're
motorcycles.
97% of the market, you're not losing nothing.
Okay. Well, even Google loses. I mean, look, Google's lost. Google has lost 30% of its search traffic to Perplexity and AI generated because all we wanted was an answer. Right? I type in Google today. I don't get an answer. I get a link to a bunch of sites. Right. I want a freaking answer. Right?
Yep.
And then now we'll see if Google figures out that they need to be the answer engine now and not the website delivery engine.
Yeah.
Right? We'll see if they figure that out. I mean, I think they will, but they'll probably figure out AI much quicker than other people now. They're a little bit. Gemini's a little bit ahead of everybody at this point.
Like in all searches now, that's what shows up at the top, or the ads, which I thought was really interesting. So and by the way, the ads didn't get cheaper, but they bumped it down. All right, to put at a more expensive real estate on the page is the answer from their AI. So, I mean, have you guys noticed that?
No.
Like every time you go to Google right now, it's like there is the AI response at the top,
right.
and then below that starts the ads.
Yes, correct. Yep.
So, I'm just as a marketer, I'm going, what the just happened?
Well,
I just got pushed down, but I ain't getting no discount for it.
Well, here's an interesting thing. Do this next time you're in a store somewhere, or just in your market. Go to Perplexity and type in 2025 Ford F-150 near me. You'll get a list.
100%. It's
and pricing.
And pricing, yes.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be.
And that's kind kind of all I wanted.
Right. That's all you ever wanted, right? That's all
Right.
you ever
I didn't
wanted.
need a link to 55 websites where I could go read about all the other crap.
exactly.
Oh, and by the way, at the very bottom, here's your price. I didn't want that. I wanted to know how many Ford F-150s were around me and what they cost.
Right.
Okay, so here's the funny thing, guys, and we're talking about industry changes, right? I remember receiving that fax. So here we are, fundamentally years later. All right, I just want to know how many of these trucks you have and what is the price.
Right.
That's literally what the fax would be coming in, right? And that was the exit. So it's funny that
What's old is
25,
new again.
30 years ago, that was and now we're coming back to it and going, oh yeah, that is really what the customer
Well,
does.
but see, at the time, all Google could bring back to you was a website. They couldn't bring back an answer.
Right.
When all I really wanted was an answer.
But the guy buying the ad wanted you not to give the answer.
No, he wanted you on his website.
Right.
And so what does Google return?
Well,
He
the
returns
other
the
problem
link.
was that
But
they own
now they
97% of the search market, so you can't serve everybody the same thing and think you're going to give somebody something better.
You know, how did they get that 97%?
Let me provide
Because
you.
I don't know.
result
I can
on
tell
this.
you. They got the
They were the
97.
only one in the game.
No. That at the time, Yahoo was kicking their ass. Now Yahoo was how Yahoo.
You don't remember Yahoo cars?
No, I do. I just never used it.
When search first started, Yahoo and
MSN.
no, not with MSN.
MSN Auto.
Not
MSN Auto.
no, I'm not talking about for cars. Just search in general, right?
it was
I'll tell you what.
Comcast.
Ask Jeeves.
That was my favorite.
Yeah, Ask Jeeves. Yahoo, and there was the last one. Ocus. Anyway, I can't think of it right now. I'll think of it in a minute. But those three owned most of search, and Yahoo was kicking everybody's butt. And how Yahoo was doing it was they were just a big index. They were just crawling through and indexing every site, and would just deliver you the site based upon the keyword that you had that was in the title of the site or the H1 tag, right? So that's how Yahoo worked. It was completely unscalable. It was so hard to do. And what ended up happening was Google figured out backlinks. And they used backlinks as a scale. It was just scalable, right? Backlinks could tell me that, or they thought, or their hypothesis that the backlinks, that if a lot of pages backlink back to another site, it must have higher authority or be more relevant to the search than the others. So they put that in their algorithm, and by thereby making search scalable. And when they made search scalable, that's when they started eating up market share. But they still couldn't monetize it. No, they were losing money out the ass. It was like an Amazon thing, right? And they couldn't figure out, well, how do we make money? And people would ask them.
Right.
And I mean, I can remember being asked. I can remember being asked in 1999. We didn't even have Digital Dealer yet.
That was when the cabal went out.
But we were at NADA. Yeah, we were at NADA. We were in a booth with another company, and I had the guys from Garf Automotive. I remember.
Yeah.
Garf came by and they said, "Okay." One of their guys says, "How do you think Google makes money on this whole search thing?" I said, "Well, the same way everybody makes money, advertising. The same way TV makes money. Zuckerberg said it best. If the product is, if the service is free, the service is free, you are the product, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he said it better than I did.
He did.
But I sucked at saying it. I get it. It's okay.
But he said it first. You're just trying to remember what he said.
But no, I mean, he articulated what I was trying to say in '99 much better than I am now.
I believe it was, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
Right.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, when they figured out keywords,
that's what they're selling.
the keywords, the content, and the backlinks, that is basically, in a sense, search. When that happened, they started eating up market share to the point where there was no way back for Google, for Yahoo at that point. And everybody else kind of fell by the way. Lycos. Was the one?
I didn't like those.
Was the one?
I thought you were going to
thinking
say Excite, but yes.
no, Excite was good for dark web stuff. But anyway, so at the end of the day, these other guys just fell by the wayside. They couldn't keep up. Yahoo couldn't keep up with this index. It had to change. They even tried to hire the number 2 gal from Google.
Myers.
They did. They hired her,
And
but she couldn't pull it.
No.
She couldn't pull that thing out of the ditch either.
No.
At that point, it was so far in the ditch, it was over. Right at that point, and Google's making hard changes right now because they don't want to be that guy either. Because these new AI search, it's happening. It's not just happening. It's here.
Google's got other problems too, like the feds.
Well, yeah, that also caused a problem. That whole do no evil thing that went out in about 1992.
Right.
we shot
they
that.
realized how much money they could make if they did.
Yeah, they did some evil, 100%.
Well, so let's get on to another industry change because I like this one. When did a handshake, or when was a handshake was the CRM? Remember that?
Yeah, it was called a floor up.
That's just, like I remember the guy that trained me, he had a Rolodex. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. I, in theory, love the idea of a CRM. I love the idea of customer relationship management. But here's the thing. I have to create that relationship before I can manage anything. And I think fundamentally today, we bypass that entire thing.
Well,
and
because
it's become straight retail now.
Well,
right? Yeah, it might as well be customer retail
CRM
management, not customer relationship management.
But the CRM was to capture the customer so the dealership owned it and the sales guy didn't own it in his Rolodex and walk across the street, right? Because that would happen. That was really the impetus.
But if it was a relationship, it didn't matter where. Like,
it didn't matter. But the reality was, hey, guys are leaving my joint. They're going across the street. They're taking my customers I paid for to get in here in their Rolodex.
That's
and I don't
because
have
they built the relationship.
No, I know.
They were good at it, right?
But he wanted something that was enterprise, and you got to enter your shit into my box here, right? Have the relationship, but if you leave, I still got the guy's name.
Sure.
That was the whole premise.
Oh yeah. Well, that wasn't the whole premise, but it was a big part of it.
The biggest part.
I think the thing that was missed though is that just because you have your name, you still have to create a relationship.
Oh,
I mean,
of
that's
course, right,
the
right.
whole intent of it.
Right.
So that's just kind of where, like, why relationships, I think, still beat technology. That's the question I got for you guys. I want to kick it off there.
Oh, I think they do. I think absolutely.
Well, I mean, when you say beat technology,
well, no one's buying cars online, right? No one is doing.
Well, she didn't say no one, but a lot less than anybody ever thought.
Well, right, less than 2%,
right. And a lot less than than people were trying to convince us was going to happen. Even it's not even happening at Carvana.
I read a stat the other day that was from like 7 years ago that in 2030, over 30% of cars purchased would be done online.
Yeah, I remember when I was just going to talk to Alexa and tell Alexa to buy me a new car. I don't know when that happened.
But that was also because of COVID, right? COVID accelerated that because then all of a sudden everybody needed to stay in business, but they couldn't do it in the dealership. Right.
So then this whole digital retail thing took off, and everybody thought, "Oh, this is it.
Right.
This is the thing that's going to change it."
Yep.
And as soon as we could all go back to the dealership, that thing cratered like a cheap suit.
And I think that's what the technology has done is it has accelerated a bad idea or getting closer to the bad idea, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're all bad ideas. I'm not saying that at all. But this whole industry always looks for the silver bullet. What the tech leads you to get to, there is no silver bullets quicker.
Right.
And then you bought a problem.
I guess my follow-up question then is transaction model, all right, versus the relationship model. And think outside of automotive too, right? Because I mean, there are many other verticals and many other businesses that just focused on the transaction and are wildly successful. All right, and there's no relationship built in it at all. It's just straight transaction
with disposable products. But when you're buying something such as a vehicle that needs to have service,
okay. So let me give you one that's changed. I think totally transactional. The banking industry. All right. I mean, I remember my grandfather talked about the relationship he had with his banker, right? That is almost completely non-existent.
Well, because they don't have little small banks anymore. They've been gobbled up.
They've gone completely transactional, and honestly, I don't mind that. I I have no expectation of having a relationship with my banker. I have my app. My app is telling me where everything's at, what my portfolio is sitting at. Like it is.
Well,
it's
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, I have my banks are my banking transactions are transactional.
Sure.
But the other day I thought about buying this deal, and I needed you're going to need a few $1,000,000, and I called up JT.
Yeah, but that's like
shout out to JT. I called up JT, and JT would trust us.
We're not the market we're talking about here.
Yeah,
you're talking about Joe Blow that comes in a car deal, right? You're talking about the 0.5% that actually buy a company, right?
Yeah.
That's different.
No, I'm just saying, like is there a room to maintain both of these models? Can a dealership be profitable in just focusing on either one of these models? Because there are dealerships out there that are 100% transactional. I see it. I mean, I see their websites are designed their way. Their dealerships are designed this way. And I think a lot of them, they're one price dealerships, right? Like I'm focusing on the transaction, right? I'm going to go one price. And it's
you don't have a relationship with the customer until you make that transaction.
Well, okay.
So before to line this out, I think you got to do it this way: is that a car purchase is not unemotional, and before a car, it's always emotional.
Yeah,
and you're buying the car you like, so that's you're in emotion immediately.
100%.
And when you're in emotion, when I go to do my banking, my normal just day-to-day banking, I'm not emotional about it, right? I need to deposit this check. I am not super emotional about that, right? But when I go to buy a car, it's an emotional thing, right? And I need to like the person I'm buying it from.
Yep.
And because it's emotion, there's all emotion here.
No logic.
Right. Now, I think at some point somebody thought that the cars would get to emotional because they just become need things. And I wouldn't disagree with that if they ever become need things. But before they become need things, you'll dial up a car that will come take you where you need to go from your phone.
Completely transactional.
Yeah, it will. That is a transaction.
Yep.
And when it gets to that level of transactional, you won't be having a car. You'll have a phone and a service.
Correct.
You won't have a car.
Correct.
When you go to buy the car now, it will be completely emotional. I mean, if I had a car, I haven't had a car for almost 2 years now.
Right.
So I don't miss it. Yeah, I don't miss it. But when I do want to drive, I go get one of the cars I do drive. But that's a car you like to drive, the one you want to drive, right?
Convenience and sterilization of emotion, to your point, is a scary place to be, right? It's a scary place to be because the emotion part is part of the enjoyment, right? The excitement of getting something new. It feeds your endorphins. It makes you human. And when we start to get away from that joy and make everything based off a transaction, or I don't have to interact with anyone, then I think you start to dumb down the emotional side of buying, of purchasing, building that relationship. And that can be a scary thing because, I mean, when I say scary, I don't mean scary, but it's a different environment that you're going to, because you don't need as many providers of something if it's going to be that way.
Well, exactly. And then also, how do you compete in that space, right? So Larry, it's funny, like me and my wife were sitting on very different sides of this, right? Like I bought my truck. It was a very emotional purchase. All right. I very much so wanted to find that person that was going to, so I could create a relationship with that was going to help me through this purchase, and to get the right thing that I ultimately wanted. And I wasn't 100% sure exactly what I wanted. My wife, on the other hand, is I don't want to spend any more than $600 a month, and I need 7 seats, and I want all-wheel drive, and it needs to be white.
Okay.
That was the criteria.
That was it. So it was like, okay, well, I found one. Okay, that's great.
Sounds good.
That was the extent of it. It was, all she was looking for was just a quick.
It's a vehicle. It's a person haul.
Now, unfortunately, the dealership did not provide any convenient or quick transaction to this. And
what was the most emotional time period of time at your age of 16 that you did? What was
my car?
Right, get your car.
Yeah.
The average
not anymore.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So as a dealer body out there, do I develop my business so that I can handle both of these models and both of these needs, or do I?
No, as a dealership,
you brand around one or the other.
Well, that's what I was saying. As a dealership, you got to stay with the emotional model.
I think
because
so,
because when we get to just a transactional model, you won't be involved anyway. So don't worry about it.
Right.
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 You know, Elon's robo taxi's coming. It's here in certain markets already.
So you're telling dealers out there that, hey, if you're really thinking about and you want to future-proof your business for the next 10 years, because to your point, I agree with you, the robo-taxi 100% is coming. All right.
It's here now.
Is that you really need to have both technology, process, and people, all right, that develop a relationship.
Right, but it's the same thing I was talking about with the game changer deal in Houston. We just did the game changer deal in Houston. It was great. We had a great time, great people, great baseball game.
And they asked good questions.
And they did ask good questions. And Jason and his team did a fantastic job. So there's a plug for you, man.
Thank you, sir.
I do what I can, and I'll be expecting my $1,000 after this deal.
$1,000. He's gonna give me $25.
Jeez,
you sold out cheap.
Well, I thought it was a beer.
I needed money.
Oh man, we obviously didn't get our pricing structure straight before we got into this. But what I was saying at that game changer seminar is like, look, people you hire in your business for salespeople, they have not changed. Okay, a lot of people think kids today are just more demanding. No, they're just more vocal about it, and they have choices. But they haven't changed. When you hire a salesperson, they expect to be trained. Back in the day, you didn't train. Your training was here's some go tapes. Go get them, Tiger.
Yeah.
That doesn't work anymore. They expect more. And when you don't deliver it, they're vocal about it, and they quit because they've got options. Back then, they didn't have options.
And would you say that COVID was a instigator of that? Because what did you think when COVID hit? It went from selling to order taking. Gee, we don't really need to.
They weren't trained how to sell.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And so,
which is unfortunate. That's just our problem. As leaders out there in the industry, we should.
No, I had a guy. So I was living in the penthouse in our building at that time, and there was a guy, a Cadillac sales guy, who had the other penthouse on the other side of the building, and I'm looking at him going, "Hey man, when I was a sales guy, there's no fucking way I could afford to be here." So tell me how you're affording. It was during COVID. He's selling them $80,000-$90,000 over a sticker. He's getting, he's making $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year as a sales guy. He's brand new. I mean, he's probably been in the business like a year. And he's like, the car business is great. I'm like, brother, you need to. I can almost guarantee you that dude is not selling cars.
Or at least he's not living
because
in
he
the penthouse.
spent every dollar. Oh no, he's not there anymore. He spent every dollar he had every month. There was nothing left in the bank at the end of the month, I assure you. But anyway, the long story short of that is that the dealers who are being successful today, the ones that are getting more than they should, more than their share, they have an onboarding process. They have a training process. It's real training involved. They have a technology process by which you will work the customers. They have technology to help you work more customers so that you can sell more than 10. And they have a pathway to your career as a person in retail auto. That's the ones who have our bets. Those are the ones that are successful. The rest of them are still doing things like we used to, hoping they stay around, and that's not working. So if you are, that's just something. That's why the forecast model I built off the CDP. Yeah. It has to start with how many salespeople do you have? Right. Yep. Because there's one thing that technology still can't do and won't be for a very long time, no matter how much AI we get. It cannot sell and deliver the car.
No.
Correct.
They have not made that thing jump out of the computer and write that deal.
But to your point, we are getting close to that, right? We are. We're going to have that app on there. It's going to hit the button. It's going to show up.
That's not buying a car. That's buying a service.
Yes,
and I
that's
do.
what I'm saying.
I'm
Cars are
probably
gonna turn into
probably a
service.
best case use case now. I bet. The funny part is that I used to do Uber all the time until they pissed me off when I rented a car.
Now you do Lyft.
Now I do Lyft straightly, but I spend $2,000 a month on Lyft. Now I'm traveling a lot. I don't rent cars anymore when I go when I go out of town. I don't rent cars because you think about it. I get to my destination. I don't have to. Here's the fun. When I first started selling dealers, here's what I used to do. I would go in the night before. I would get my key map out.
Yep.
Yes, I'm dating myself hard now.
Yeah.
Hard. Get my key map out where I was going to go to the dealers, right? Then I would drive to each dealer so I had a mental, so I knew where it was. I wouldn't be late.
Yep.
And I would drive to each dealer. And that was my first day.
Yeah.
And then I would do the rest. When the Garmin GPS came out,
It was a game changer.
oh my God.
Yeah.
I remember.
I don't have to get here first. I just type it in and take. Oh my God! Now I get to the location, and wherever I want to go, I just dial it up, and I'm in the back seat working while I'm on my way to my destination. I'm not driving.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the robo-taxi is going to win in in the transactional world.
Well, and I think these are the types of industry changes that dealers out there are watching and listening right now that you guys need. You need to be thinking of. Like, I mean, look, here's one thing. I was a Boy Scout. I don't know if you guys know,
wow, that's a big deal.
Right? But I will say some of the best operators I've ever met, I swear they were Boy Scouts at one point. And that be prepared,
Yeah.
all right, is just like it just comes to them naturally, right? They're just in the back of their mind, they're just always thinking. And I think for anybody out there watching, listening, that is just it. It's just like industry changes. You guys, we've talked a lot about industry changes during this episode. They don't go away.
No.
We're just going to continue to have more industry changes. I think what's the make or break is going to be just how well prepared you are for whatever is to come.
Yeah, but think about this though. The actions actually don't change. How you do the actions does.
That's true.
Because everybody still only has 24 hours a day, right?
Right.
And so the commodity is your time, but the value that you put on your commodity, your time, varies with everybody else, right? And so if you can be more efficient with your time, Grubhub, I don't want to go get food, they'll bring it to me. Amazon, I don't have to go shopping, they'll bring it to me. Those things save time, right? For someone to do something else that they value that action more than doing that thing, they don't want to do anymore.
Right.
And so whatever can help establish that technology-wise for the consumer, I think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Until they don't.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And when we're talking about industry changes, now we're kind of forecasting some industry changes, right? You know, to both you guys' point, the customer's behavior is fundamentally changing. Their expectation or what they value, the way they value their time is wildly different than they did 10 years ago. And I just think as an industry,
I can tell you right now it's not. Here's where I'll just push back a little bit on that, right?
I think I see where you're going because I know where you're going to. You're right. I think that hasn't changed, but what it's come is it's become more available to everybody out there. You know, me and Rob were talking about his PJ, and I said, "Do you miss it?" He's like, "Dude, it was total freedom. Like, you know, I can go anywhere, anytime, right?" But that type of level of understanding and valuing your time has always been there. But now it's come down to the point, though, where it's available to anybody. Everybody.
Yes.
Right?
And so now it's a service.
It's a service.
It's a service.
You know? Like,
and it's also it fulfills a lifestyle, right? A lot of the stuff in our society today just supports a lifestyle. Yes. Which no one else in the world has.
Right. Well, right? I mean, the reason I say that is that, you know, the most successful campaign I ran in 1997 was the 30 minutes or the car's free campaign.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. People have always valued time. It has just now become so easy, and I guess the expectation
hasn't gone down.
I get my time back so much easier now that you should be able to do that.
What do you mean you can't get me out?
Out of here in 30 minutes?
The Kia Telluride I just bought, right? Like I know we're going over time, but it's an important story, right? Like so the transaction's done, guys. I've said yes. I've given my credit card. I've signed on a bill of sale. They won't let me leave until I meet with the finance manager. Now, unfortunately, this dealership had to take it even one step farther and tell me that it was a legal requirement. Oh boy, did that get me wrong way, right? Because I'm like, yeah, no. I said, look, I know you're lying right now. It would have been better for you just to look me straight in the face and tell me, hey, look, my boss has this incredibly strict protocol, and if I don't follow it, dude, I'm going to get in trouble, right? That would have actually been the honest thing to say. So I had to sit around for 2 hours to meet with an F&I manager on a 24-month lease.
Oh, wow.
So here's a process gone completely wrong.
Were you buying cash?
It was a lease.
It was a lease.
It was a lease, dude. It was I'm not owning this thing forever.
But I just don't understand why you just didn't leave and go get another one someplace else. I'd have just left.
It was the white color that she wanted. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it was the only one around, the only white Telluride in town.
I was there, right?
Okay.
So it was like I was going to go restart this whole process with somebody else, but to your point, right? Like my expectation was I'm going to be in and out of this place in 30 minutes, and then they just destroyed that completely. Anyway,
right. Well, yeah. I mean, that. But see, that's just it. Experience equals time. You mean you heard it I heard that word at the little game changer thing at least 10 times. Experience. I mean, there was one lady there who said her whole job was. She was the customer experience person. She thought that was her entire job. And I told her, well, it's easy. Experience equals time. The more time you can hand me back, the better my experience will be. That's you can do a lot of things, that will help me with my experience, but the one thing I can guarantee you will give the customer the experience that they really want more than anything else is time.
It's interesting. You bring up the 30 minutes are free. Pizza Hut used to have that.
Right.
The personal hand. They don't do that anymore. They don't say that. So is it gone to where that giving back of time is a commodity that everyone says, so it's not unique anymore? I don't know. You just said that.
Domino's had the same thing. Yeah,
it's a possibility.
Right?
Yeah,
right.
It's definitely a possibility. Look, guys, I know we've gone over our time today, but I think we covered some really, really cool stuff. For everybody out there watching and listening, we appreciate you. One of the biggest compliments that you can give myself, Larry, or Rob is to share the show.
Shares the show.
It means so much to us when you guys do that. If you have a friend or a colleague,
do we need to come up with like a deal like with Lou and Fred?
Do we?
Little forgive, focus, fly thing. I always get nervous when I do. I was like, I'm going to do it wrong. Do we need to come up with one of those? Yeah, I don't know. No, I think not. But anyway, so long story short.
Let's just give the time back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll give you your time back.
Show. That's
share the show, damn it.
and hey, if you guys are really enjoying this content and you'd like to see more content, hey Larry, where can they see more content?
They can go to thedealercast.com and you can get all of our episodes, and you can subscribe to your favorite, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. Subscribe there and get them every week. We drop these things every week. I get lots of. I'm still absolutely humbled that anyone listens. It even comes back to listen. Oh my God! So thank you for that.
Hey, let's fill out a form and tell us what you want to hear us talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us what you want us to talk about. We'd love to.
Hey, thank you everyone for your time. You have yourself
thanks,
an amazing
guys.
day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Old Guys Know Shit podcast with your host, Old Guys Who Know Shit. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.